Aaron never believed the universe was quiet. Most people thought space was empty silence, nothing but stars staring back at you. But Aaron knew silence was just waiting for something to speak. And tonight, space was about to speak his name. For days, Aaron had sat alone on the listening station called Echo Base, a small post on the edge of a shadowy star cluster no one cared about. The station's old screens flickered blue and white, and static hissed through his headphones like distant rain. Aaron barely slept. Something deep inside told him that tonight would be different. He sat in his chair, eyes heavy but alert. The screen showed nothing unusual, until a tiny blip appeared, a soft pulse. So faint that at first he thought it was a glitch. But then it repeated, slow, rhythmic, unlike anything he had seen before. Curious, Aaron leaned closer. His breath caught when he heard something through the static. Not a code, not pure noise, but a voice. A voice so soft it sounded like it was coming from the other side of eternity. Aaron, his heart nearly jumped out of his chest. He froze. A chill ran down his spine. The voice came again, exactly the same, faint, trembling, almost like someone crying. But how could it know his name? Aaron had not spoken aloud for days. He was alone here, or so he thought. He checked the signal strength. It was weak but unmistakable. And the origin was even more strange. It came from a star system that did not exist on any chart. No survey, no explorers, nothing. A ghost corner of space that should have been empty. Aaron rubbed his eyes, thinking he was imagining things. But the voice came again, clearer now, filled with pain and fear. Aaron, please. Suddenly Aaron felt a tug in his chest, a mix of fear and curiosity he could not ignore. He tapped a command on his console to record the signal. Every second was saving into memory. He stared at the blip that kept repeating like it wanted to be heard. Hours passed. Aaron did not sleep. The sun outside his station rose, or at least it should have. But this part of space had no real day or night, only darkness and the distant glint of stars. Still, the voice called, and Aaron listened. By the time he decided to act, the signal had changed. From whispers of faint sob, a sound that had no right existing in space, where there was nothing alive to make noise. The sob was shaky and full of emotion, like someone lost everything they cared about. But that was impossible. There was no one here, no life, no broken hearts. Just Aaron until now. He knew something terrible and important waited out there. Aaron packed his gear without thinking twice. He strapped a simple backpack over his shoulder, placed his recorder inside, and headed to the shuttle bay. The old metal doors of the station slid open with a hiss, and cold air, star dust and silence, washed over him. The small shuttle he owned was old but reliable. Its thin frame shook once as it launched into space, leaving the lonely listening station behind. Aaron watched stars blur into lines through the cockpit window, his mind repeating that name. Aaron. He had plotted the shortest route toward the signal source, a dead planet orbiting a tiny purple sun. No colonies, no scans of life signs, nothing that should matter. Yet the signal was real, and it whispered his name again and again. Something was calling him, and not just his name, something deeper that felt almost personal. When the planet finally came into view, its surface looked broken and tired. Rusty orange desert stretched as far as the eye could see. The wasteland had no life, no atmosphere worth breathing. And yet the signal was so strong here that Aaron felt it almost in his chest, like a heartbeat of the planet itself. The shuttle entered the weak atmosphere, and harsh winds pushed against it like invisible claws. Aaron set the craft down near strange ruins, tall spires and broken walls rising from the sand like broken bones. Ancient, dead, forgotten by even the oldest star maps. The moment Aaron stepped out, the world felt cold and empty, yet something in the air felt heavy, like a memory too old to forget. He could hear nothing but the sound of his own breath inside his helmet. Still, his headset buzzed faintly, and then that voice again. Aaron, don't turn back. That one sentence sent shivers through him. It was not just a signal anymore. It was a plea, a warning. But from whom or what? Aaron took a deep breath. He started walking toward the tallest ruin, the only place where the signal grew stronger with every step. Dust swirled around his boots. The wind whispered like voices he could almost understand. The sun in that foreign sky shone cold and unforgiving. And then, far ahead, something moved. Not just shadows. Something alive. Aaron felt his heart drop, half with fear, half with wonder. Because whatever lived here knew his name. Aaron stood frozen at the edge of the broken ruins. His boots pressed into the cold sand of the lifeless planet. The wind howled. But there was something else, something almost like a breath, a sound that shouldn't exist in this dead world. His headset, a device meant for reading signals, crackled again. But this time, it was not just static. A whisper, so soft it sounded like air brushing stone. Don't be afraid. Aaron's heart thumped harder than it ever had. That voice, the same voice that had called his name. But now, it spoke his name in a sentence. Aaron, come inside, come closer. The ruins before him were huge, like a broken palace. Tall pillars crumbled into jagged towers that stabbed the empty sky. One giant entrance yawned open, dark and cold. No light came from within. Yet the voice, it beckoned him closer. Aaron felt a strange pull, not fear, not courage, something between both. A whisper in his blood, saying, "You must go." He took the first step. The moment his boot crossed the threshold, the air changed. The silence was no longer empty. It felt like something was watching him. Shadows lingered in every corner, deep black, like holes in walls. Not normal shadows. These seemed alive, as if they breathed with the cold air itself. Aaron swallowed hard. The sobbing sound he had heard earlier, soft, broken, echoed again from deep inside the palace. He pulled out his recorder. The device glowed brighter than before, reacting to something unknown in the palace walls. Aaron shivered. At the end of the long corridor, something moved. Just a small shift, a flicker of white fabric. He froze. "Hello," Aaron called softly. His voice trembled without meaning to. The response was not a voice, but a single sob. Filled with pain, fear, and longing, it broke something inside him. Aaron moved forward. Another step, then another. Each footstep sounded heavier than the last. Not because of the weight of his boots, but because each step felt like walking deeper into a memory that wasn't his. At last, Aaron reached a shattered archway. Through was a wide hall, huge columns rising like broken giants. Light drifted in from holes in the cracked ceiling. Dust sparkled in the air like cold stars. And in the center, beneath a broken beam of light, she sat. A young woman in a white robe, knees pulled to her chest, face buried in her hands. Her hair was long black, tangled with dust and sand. She didn't move. She just cried. Aaron's breath stuck in his throat. Her sobs were deep, not just noise, but sorrow itself. Real, raw emotion. He felt pain he had never known wash over him. Then, without lifting her head, she spoke in a whisper. "Why did you come here?" Her voice was soft, but it struck him like thunder. Aaron hesitated. I heard your voice," he said quietly. "The signal that called my name." She did not raise her head, but the sobs stopped suddenly. Silence. Heavy and waiting. "The signal," she whispered, almost like she was afraid to say it aloud. Aaron nodded. "Yes, your voice. I heard it calling me." She looked up then. Her eyes were large, empty, haunted. When her gaze fell on him, Aaron felt something cold crawl up his spine. Not fear, but recognition. Not his recognition. Hers. She whispered his name. Aaron. This time it was not an echo. It was real, clear, familiar. Her eyes filled with tears again, but her voice broke in a different way. Not only sadness, but something deeper, something that reminded him of truth he couldn't yet understand. "You were here before," she said. "I remember your name. I remember your face, but I never thought I would see you again." Aaron blinked. His mind raced. He froze. How can she know me, he thought. But before he could speak, the ground rumbled beneath them. A low, deep sound that shook dust in the broken ceiling. The palace walls groaned like with bending in the fire. A crack ran across the floor between them. Wide, dark, alive. The woman stood then, her eyes fixed on Aaron with something fierce and terrible. "Why did you come here?" she repeated, not afraid anymore, but angry. That one question struck Aaron like lightning. He opened his mouth to answer, but his voice died in his throat. Behind him, the shadows in the hall grew longer, and something ancient slid over the walls, watching them both. Aaron realized this was no ordinary world, no ordinary woman, no ordinary signal. What brought him here was not coincidence. And what waited in the darkness was something far older than he could have ever imagined. Aaron stood still, breathing heavy. Something deep inside him felt like it was being pulled apart. Fear, wonder, and curiosity all mixed together into one sharp feeling. The woman in white did not look like a threat. Yet her eyes, they looked like she had seen worlds burn. He remembered her voice, calm and yet full of pain. Before he could speak, she turned away and walked toward the shadows of the ruined hall. Her robe brushed the broken stone floor quietly, like a whisper. Her body trembled not with fear, but with memories she could not escape. Aaron followed her slowly. "Wait," he said gently. "Why did you call my name? Why do you know me?" She didn't turn around at first. Her voice came from the darkness ahead. "You know nothing," she said softly, "but you walked here anyway." Aaron felt a cold chill run down his spine. "How do you know my name?" he asked again. She stopped then, just a few feet away. Dust floated through the air like tiny stars lost in the black sky. She faced him now, her eyes fixed on his with an intensity that made his heart skip. "We were told long ago that your name was Fear," she said in a low voice, trembling. "That your name would bring ruin." Aaron's breath caught. Fear? Ruin? A voice? He had come because of a signal, a cry, and now this woman spoke of fear tied to his name. He took a careful step closer. "I never meant to bring ruin," he said softly. "I am no danger. I heard your voice and I came because it sounded like someone in pain." At that moment, the woman's eyes filled with fresh tears, not the same sorrow as before, but something deeper, something ancient. She placed her hand on her chest, where her heart should beat, but still she looked weak, like life had left this world long ago. "Pain," she whispered. "You think I cried from sadness alone? No, it was not just sadness. It was remembrance." Aaron's heartbeat thudded loud in his ears. He didn't understand yet, but something told him this was important. "Remembrance of what?" he asked. The woman closed her eyes, as though trying to pull a memory out of thin air. Then she opened them again, her gaze heavy with truth. "Long ago," she said, "this palace was full of life. People lived here. We had song and laughter and warmth and hope." Aaron blinked, surprised. This place looked dead now, broken and cold, but her voice made it feel alive once before something terrible happened. "What happened here?" he asked gently. Her eyes locked on his, and she whispered the words that pulled the shadows around them closer, like invisible tendrils listening to every breath. "They came in the dead of night," she said. "Not shadows, not monsters, something else, something older than fear." Aaron felt his blood run cold. He swallowed hard. "Older than fear?" he repeated quietly. She looked into his eyes, deep, urgent, and trembling. "Yes," she said. "They did not come to kill. They came to steal who we were, piece by piece, memory by memory." Aaron didn't know what to say. This was not just a dead world. This was a grave of forgotten souls. Her voice cracked, but she continued. "We tried to fight. We tried to remember what made us strong. But their touch had erased us one by one. Everyone here forgot who they were. They forgot their friends, their dreams, their laughter, even love, until only shadows of memory remained." Aaron felt a heavy silence settle like dust around them. Then she whispered something that stopped his breath. You must not be here. Not like this." Aaron didn't understand. How could he matter in a place like this? "I'm just a listener," he said softly. "I heard a signal, your voice, and I came." She looked down, then up again, her eyes filled with a strange mix of pain and recognition. "You don't understand yet, but you were meant to find this place," she said. "Meant?" Erin echoed, her voice lowered, almost a breath. "Your name was spoken here long before this world died, long before the shadows stole our memories. And when the signal came, it was not just a cry for help." She paused. Her voice cracked with truth. It was a warning. Erin felt his heart slam in his chest. A warning? Why would this place warn him? And why did the woman seem to remember him, even though he had never been here before? Suddenly, the palace trembled again, the walls groaning, stones shifting deeper into darkness. Erin backed up. The woman steadied herself against a broken stone. And then, from deep inside the palace, something ancient growled. Not a sound of this world, not even a sound that belonged to flesh. A slow growl, deep, hungry, alive. Erin's breath froze. The shadows behind them stretched wider, darker, as if something moved inside them. The woman turned to him, eyes wide with fear, but something more recognition. She whispered one word that hit Erin's heart with the force of a falling star. "They are waking." Erin stood frozen. The words, "they are waking," echoed in his mind like a thunderclap. The air inside the broken palace felt heavier now, like an invisible force weighing down his chest. Silence wrapped around him, but it was no longer peaceful. It was dangerous. The woman in white, the princess, looked at him with wide, haunted eyes. Her breath trembled like a leaf in a storm. "We don't have much time," she whispered. "Once they wake, there is no stopping them." Erin's heart pounded. He wasn't sure what they were, but the fear in her voice was real, deeper than anything he had ever felt. Suddenly, a low rumble shook the broken floor beneath them. Dust fell from the cracked ceiling like rain. Erin had to hold on to a shattered pillar to keep from falling. The palace walls vibrated. Something alive moved in the darkness. A sound, not quite a growl, not quite a scream, filled the air. It was something ancient, something that should not be. The princess turned toward the deepest shadows. "They have been asleep for centuries," she said, voice trembling. "We called them the echoes because they return only as whispers in memory, shadows of the war that killed our world." Erin stared at her, confused. "War? What war?" Her face turned pale, her eyes distant, as though she was remembering something buried deep in time. "A long war," she said. "A war between the living and the broken. They were neither alive nor dead, just empty vessels filled with forgotten anger. They could steal memories, warm hearts, hope itself." Erin felt his breath catch. He had stepped into something far bigger than he understood. The rumble grew louder. The shadows inside the palace walls began to move like thick black smoke, sliding across stone, swallowing light. Erin took a step back. The princess watched the shadows too, her face tightening with fear. "We thought they were gone," she said softly, eyes fixed on the darkness. "But when your name came through our ancient calls, it awakened them again." Erin blinked. His name. Why his name? Before he could ask, a deep voice echoed from the shadows. Low, terrifying, and not human. "You walked here of your own choice." The voice sounded like voices, many voices, layered together. Old, furious. Erin swallowed hard. The darkness before them bulged forward, like something huge was moving inside it. Then the shadows separated and revealed a figure. Tall, thin. Its body looked like cracked stone and smoke. Its eyes were deep voids, like empty memory itself. Erin's breath froze in his throat. The creature stepped forward slowly, its voice a whisper and a roar at the same time. "You have come for the truth," it said. "Yet truth is heavier than fear and heavier than hope." Erin swallowed. The princess stepped in front of him, trembling but brave. "What do you want?" she asked, voice shaking but loud enough to reach the creature. The creature's empty eyes fixed on her. "We want the memories you stole," it said. Erin's head spun. Memories? What did the princess steal? The princess shook her head slowly, tears in her eyes. "I stole nothing," she whispered. "They took our memories." They stole everything that made us alive, until only echoes remained. The creature's voice grew deeper, like thunder rolling under stone. Then you are theirs now, it said, for your world is forgotten. Aaron felt a chill go down his spine. The creature's words struck him harder than any weapon. Forgotten, he whispered. The shadows around them rippled. The air grew colder, sharper, like the world itself was collapsing. Aaron took a cautious step forward. You don't know me, he said, voice steady. I didn't come here by chance. I came because someone called my name. Someone who still remembers. The creature stopped. Silence fell, so heavy it seemed to press against their chests. Then, for the first time, the shadows around the creature began to shift, as if something deep inside the darkness stirred. The princess looked at Aaron, her eyes full of questions, fear, and something else, recognition. Your name, she whispered. It was spoken here long ago in hope, not fear. The creature tilted its head, as if it did not expect this. Its voice was quieter, but colder. Hope, it said. Hope died here. Memory died here. Only echoes remain. A pause. Then the ground shook again, but stronger this time. Aaron could feel something rising beneath the palace. Ancient bones of power, waiting to return. The princess stepped closer to Aaron, trusting him, though she didn't know why. Your name brought the signal, she said. Not as doom, but as a key. Aaron's heart raced. The creature watched him in silence. Then it spoke, slow, heavy, like truth burning in cold air. The truth of this world lives in the heart of its last memory, it said. And only one who carries a name not born here can unlock it. Aaron felt a chill and a pull inside his soul, as if something ancient inside him stirred. He didn't know how, but he felt deep down that this was just the beginning. The shadows around him shrieked softly, like sorrow-turned voice, and the palace trembled again. Something was waking, something unstoppable, and the echo of war could be heard, not as noise but as destiny. Aaron stood in the ruined hall as the shadows slithered closer, not like darkness without light, but like darkness with intention. The air carried a cold whisper that felt alive, as though everything around him was breathing silently. The creature, tall and broken like shattered stone animated by smoke, watched silently. Its deep void eyes seemed to see everything in Aaron's mind, while the princess stood beside him, trembling but firm. Before Aaron could react, the creature spoke again, but this time its voice was closer, as though it came from inside his head. You carry the name that was lost, it said, low and eerie. Yet names forgotten do not vanish, they sleep. And now you have awakened something that has been waiting. Aaron felt a cold dread crawl up his spine. Waiting for what? He whispered. The creature did not answer. Instead, the shadows around them straightened, like millions of black threads rising from the broken floor. They moved with purpose, converging toward a deep crack in the ground. The princess held her breath. Aaron watched in silence as something began to rise from the darkness below, a shape at first too vague to understand and then slowly more defined. It looked like a giant skeletal figure made of shadows, but its edges flickered with a strange pale light, like smoke burning at the edge of a flame. Aaron felt something inside him tighten. The princess stared wide-eyed. They are forming, she whispered, not as they were before, but as something worse. The skeletal shadow opened its hollow mouth and let out a sound that was neither a scream nor a breath, but something between both, a hollow cry born from a place without memory. The ground shook again. Aaron could feel the trembling not just in his feet, but in his bones. He looked at the princess. Her face showed fear and something deeper, recognition mixed with ancient sorrow. Aaron, she said softly, this place was once called Kalos, a world of wonder and hope. Before the war echoes came. Her voice cracked. Before everything was lost. Aaron wanted to speak, but the shadow's form began to shift again, its limbs growing longer, its shape sharpening like broken glass. The creature from afore, the one made of cracked stone and smoke, stepped forward. His voice was calm, but heavy. Do you see now, it asked? These shadows are born from forgotten truth, stolen memory, and rage without end. They are not merely enemies. They are remnants of the world that stood here once, and now they seek to reclaim what was lost. Aaron felt his mind turn cold. "Why me?" he whispered. "Why does my name matter here? I have never been to this world before." The stone smoke creature paused. For a moment, silence filled the hall, like a breath waiting to escape. Then the creature spoke, but its voice was softer, almost thoughtful. "Because your name is not foreign to this place," it said slowly. "You carry the trace of memory buried deep in the heart of Kalos, the truth long erased. The signal that called you was not a cry for help alone. It was a key, a call to awaken." Aaron's eyes widened. "A key," he repeated. The princess looked at him with eyes full of hurt and longing. "Yes," she whispered, "but not a key of destruction, a key of remembrance." Aaron felt his heart tighten. The shadow skeleton watched them with empty eyes. Then, without warning, it pointed one massive, smoky finger at Aaron. "Then prove it," it whispered, and the voice was everywhere at once. In Aaron's head, in the air, in the dust on the floor. "Prove your worth. Awaken the truth hidden in memory, or become another lost echo." Aaron swallowed hard. The ground beneath them rumbled again, louder this time, as if the planet itself was waking with anger and memory intertwined. Shards of broken stone slid off the walls. Dust danced in spirals through the air. The skeletal shadow raised a massive arm, not to strike but to test. Aaron felt something inside him tremble, a strange pull, like an unseen thread tugging at his spirit. Before he understood what he was doing, he reached out with his mind toward the shadow figure standing before him. His heart pounded, his breath caught, and then something inside him lit up like a spark in deep darkness. A rush of warmth and memory flooded his senses. It was not his own memory, but something else. A vision, a world alive, a sun bright and warm, laughter, songs, 1,000 faces smiling, then darkness, then fear, then silence. Aaron's knees nearly gave way. He gasped, the vision gone, but the connection remained. The skeleton of shadow paused. Quiet now. The stone smoke creature watched him. The princess looked at him with awe and sorrow, and the entire palace seemed to hold its breath. Aaron stood trembling, and finally he whispered, "I saw it." His voice was weak, but filled with truth. They were alive before all of this. The shadows behind them shifted again, but this time not with anger, with recognition. Something ancient had awakened, not just a threat, but a memory, a truth long forgotten, and now, rising from the ashes of a dead world. Aaron stood in the ruined hall, his heart racing like thunder, sweat mixed with dust on his brow. He had just seen a memory, not his own, but something ancient, something real, a world alive before it died, a people who smiled before Echo became all they knew. The shadows around them shifted quietly now, uneasy, not attacking but watching. The princess stood beside him, pale yet intense. Her eyes didn't look afraid anymore. They looked familiar, as if she had seen this moment before, in a dream half remembered. Aaron struggled to breathe. He tried to make sense of what he had seen. Then, the stone smoke creature stepped forward. Its voice was calm, measured, yet heavy with truth. "Your mind reached into the lost memory of Kalos," it said. "Not because you sought it, but because you carry the echo of what once was." Aaron blinked. "Echo of what?" he whispered. The princess stepped closer to him, trembling slightly. "Aaron," she said softly, "there's something you must understand, something I only remember now because of what you saw." Aaron felt his heart tighten. "What?" he asked. She looked deep into his eyes. "You are not from our world," she said. "Not born here, but connected. Your name, your spirit, carries a memory tied to Kalos itself." Aaron's breath caught. "How can that be?" he whispered. The shadows around them pulsed, slow, deep, like a heartbeat. "You are the bearer of remembrance," the stone smoke creature said gently. "A being whose soul holds fragments of memory long erased from this world." Aaron felt a cold truth settle in his chest. "I don't understand," he said quietly. "I never knew this place. I never lived there, so how can I carry its memory?" The princess hesitated, her eyes filled with a strange mix of hope and pain. Long ago, she began, there was a prophecy, a time before the war echoes, a day when a child of another world would come, not as a conqueror, not as a destroyer, but as someone who remembers. Aaron's mind spun. A prophecy, he repeated. She nodded slowly. Yes, she said, a prophecy written in the heart of Kalos long before the war. It spoke of a name that was not born of Kalos, a name that would awaken what was lost, not through force, but through memory. The words pressed on Aaron's chest like cold stone. Then, why did the echoes fear my name? He asked softly. The princess closed her eyes, pain flickering in them. They were not afraid of you, she whispered. They were afraid of what your presence would remind them of. They feared their lost self, the life they once had, the truth they buried. Aaron's breath trembled. So the shadows, they fear remembrance, not destruction? He asked. The stone smoke creature answered in a low voice that felt like wine through shattered stone. Fear without memory becomes rage, it said. They remember nothing, only the emptiness left behind. What you carry is a reminder of what they lost, and that reminder awakens something long forgotten. Aaron looked at the princess. What happened here? He asked gently. How did all this begin? She stepped toward him, eyes filled with sorrow and truth. Kalos was once a world of unity, she said slowly. We lived in peace. Our memories were our strength. We shared stories of stars in life, and all that made our world bright. Her voice trembled. But then, she paused, looking away. They came. Aaron felt his heart tighten. Came, he asked. She nodded. A force without origin, she said. Not living, not dead. Something that feeds on memory, not flesh. They consumed everything that made us us. Aaron's eyes widened. Memory like souls? He whispered. Exactly, she said. Once they touched someone, that person began to forget. First memories of friends, then laughter, then hope, until all that remained were shadows of who we once were. Aaron felt a chill run through him. No wonder the world died, he whispered. But here's the truth you must know, she said, her voice strong yet fragile. The prophecy did not say you would destroy the echoes. It said you would awaken the heart of Kalos, the core memory of all life, and restore what was lost. Aaron felt his breath catch. Restore all of it, he repeated softly. Yes, she said. If you unlock the heart, every lost memory, every sorrow, every joy, every face would return. Not just here, but all echoes trapped in darkness. A heavy silence filled the ruined hall. The shadows around him seemed to breathe, slow, deep, like waiting. Aaron felt something rise within him, a pull like a distant song, calling his name. I saw it once, he whispered. In the memory I saw laughter, life, light. I saw people alive here once. The princess nodded. Yes, she said, but that memory was only a fragment, a shard of truth. The heart is deeper, locked beneath the ruins of the palace, where the first song of Kalos was born. The stone smoke creature tilted its head, its voice still calm but heavy. The choice before you now is not simple, it said. To awaken the heart means confronting what the echoes fear most, remembrance of life itself. But if you do not, all shadow will remain and memory will die forever. Aaron stood still, the weight of truth pressing into him like cold iron. He looked at the princess, her eyes full of hope and ancient sorrow. Then he looked at the darkness around them, a world waiting to be reborn or forgotten forever. And in that moment, Aaron made a choice not born of power, but of memory and hope. Aaron stood before the deepest chamber of the ruined palace. The air was still, too still, as if the world itself waited for his next breath. Broken stone pillars cast long shadows across the cracked floor. Every heartbeat felt heavy, like time itself weighed down on him. The princess stood beside him. She looked calmer than before, but within her eyes was the echo of 1,000 unspoken memories. She had hope now, more than fear. But hope alone could not change what was coming. Before them lay the entrance to the heart of Kalos, a massive stone door carved with ancient symbols. It pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat of its own. Light and darkness met in strange patterns on its surface. shifting and alive. This was it, the truth, the hidden core of everything that made this lost world alive once. The place where every memory of joy, hope, and life was stored, sealed away when the war echoes tore Kalos apart. Aaron looked at the princess. "Are you ready?" he asked softly. She nodded slowly. "We have to do this," she said, voice quiet but firm. "Not for us, but for all who were lost." Aaron took a deep breath and placed his hand on the glowing stone. The moment his skin touched it, a rush of warmth shot up his arm, like a song unfurling in the deepest part of his heart. Then the chamber shook. The shadows in the hallways writhed, stretching toward them like living smoke. The sound of eerie whispers filled the air, the voices of the echoes, both angry and curious. Aaron looked at the princess. Her eyes locked on his. "We must unlock it," she said. "No matter what happens." Aaron closed his eyes. The glowing light of the heart spread across his palm and into his mind. Visions of Kalos filled his thoughts. Not just a memory this time, real, vivid, like he actually lived there. He saw laughter. He saw children playing under bright skies. He saw gardens of starlight and voices singing songs of peace. He saw the princess, alive, smiling free. Then he saw the darkness coming. Slow at first, then like a storm crashing upon the world. He felt every scream, every tear, every memory stolen. The heart pulsed again, light brighter now. Aaron opened his eyes. He saw the princess trembling, not from fear, but from hope. The shadows outside began to surge closer, not to attack, but as though they wanted something back, something they had lost. Aaron understood then. The echoes did not want destruction. They wanted to remember. In that moment, Aaron made his choice. He opened his heart to the light, not holding back, not afraid. The stone doorway exploded into brilliance, white and warm, like the rise of a new sun. The ground beneath them trembled not with fear this time, but with awakening. And then silence. When the light faded enough for Aaron to see, the world before him had changed. No longer broken, no longer silent. Life bloomed across the chamber, like rivers of light. The stone walls now glowed with faces, not shadows, but real memories. Voices whispered, soft and full of joy. The patterns on the walls flickered, like stars waking from a long sleep. Aaron stepped forward. The princess stood beside him, wide-eyed, blinking back tears. But the greatest surprise was not the reborn hall. It was the shadows, now clear shapes, slowly regaining form. Faces long forgotten began to take life again, first faint, then solid, whole. The echoes, but not empty anymore. Now alive, now remembering. And among them were the people of Kalos, not ghosts, not echoes, but living beings returned from the depths of lost memory. The princess approached them, her voice full of awe. "Welcome home," she whispered. The echoes gathered, not with anger, but with joy. Their voices filled the hall like music reborn. Aaron watched, stunned. He did not just unlock a memory. He restored a world. He had brought back what once was lost, not by fear, not by force, but by remembrance. Then he felt a warm hand on his shoulder. It was the princess. She smiled, real bright and alive. "Kalos remembers now," she said softly. Aaron felt tears he did not know he had held back fall down his cheeks. He looked at the reborn world around him. Faces smiling, voices singing, light dancing. He had done it. He had awakened not just the heart of Kalos, but the hope buried deep in every soul. The planet outside began to breathe, wind rustling like laughter, as life returned to lands once dead. Aaron stepped outside the palace with the princess beside him. They watched the first bright sunrise in centuries. Birds, real birds, flew across the open sky. Grass and flowers bloomed in colors no human eyes had seen for ages. And as the new day broke across the world of Kalos, Aaron whispered, "Memory is stronger than fear, and life is stronger than shadow." The princess smiled, a smile born of truth, not sorrow. They stood together, two worlds united by hope. And as the sun rose higher, the entire planet seemed to sing with a voice once lost, now found. A new dawn had come,